Alright, Wetzel, here is your Cobra 29LX. I have found the nature of the issue here, so I'm going to show you, and I'm going to put this on Facebook so that if anybody else has a similar problem, they might know what to look for. So, Cobra 29LX Citizens Band radio. It's got the LED screen, or LCD screen here. You've got your 12 volts input here. And it happens a lot, you know, when you put it in a car or truck or whatever. Usually this is facing away from you, and people will be fishing around with this power cord. Well, if you're positive, hits one of these screws here. These are ground, and it'll short. And most of the time, all that'll happen is it'll blow the little inline fuse in the power cord. In really bad cases, it can blow the protection diode. There's a diode right. Let me see if I can zoom in here and show you. There's a choke right there, and then there's a diode right here, D23. It's a protection diode, and it's there to blow as a last resort if you hook the power cord up backwards or short it or something. In this case, D23 didn't blow. It's fine. But what it did do was on the back side here, it has burnt. Let me see. Got an angle. Move this around a little bit. It's burnt the trace. So as you can see, the back side of D23 is this point right here. And so this whole area kind of has to do with power, receiving and distributing the power. As you can see here, there's some burnt marks. And then as you can see right here, there's actually this gold, the protective coating on this trace has been lifted up. Now as you can see from here, this whole big plate here is one solid piece of metal. And so we should be able to do continuity from like this point to say any point in here and get continuity. And if we don't, then we know that this blown out part has broken the board. So as you can guess, when I check for continuity between two points that should have it, we get nothing. So let's touch that one and say this one. We get nothing. Which means that this little spot right here where that green stuff is lifted, the protective layer is lifted, that means that that trace is blown out. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to manually repair this trace by, we'll just run a jumper wire. We'll solder a jumper wire to say this point, and then the next closest point on the other side of the jumper wire I guess would be here, and we'll solder a wire from here to here, and then that should repair your radio. Now the way I know that this is the case is I tested it. I've got a little wire here with the ends off, and if you take and you apply your 12 volts, alright, like this, power's on, nothing happens, alright? But if you take the little test wire here and run it from say this point to that point, you can see you got a little spark there, but it comes on. So that is the problem. So we'll go ahead and shut her off, disconnect 12 volts, solder the jumper wire, and you should be ready to rock and roll. Alrighty, so we've got our little jumper wire soldered into position here. I'll zoom you guys back out. We will apply 12 volts, not backwards. And as you can see, the radio works. So now, to make sure that it's working correctly here, we'll go ahead and connect up our dummy load so that we can transmit into something. You never want to transmit on a radio without an antenna or a dummy load connected to it. Hook up the microphone, which we should get, well, no static because we're in the dummy load. Alright. We'll, there we go. We'll crank this over to channel 19 and turn the volume down. Audio check 1 2 3 4 5. Audio check 1 2 3 4 5. The jumper wire appears to have fixed our blown trace. So Wetzel, your radio is good to go, ready to rock and roll in the car. And for those of you who may have a Cobra 29LX or any other CB radio, this might be a good lesson for you. If you are hooking up the radio, you don't have to hook it up backwards because these plugs are shaped so that you can't hook them up backwards. But if the positive wire on that cord touches anything that's a ground, the outside of the SO239 or any of these screws or the outside of the 3.5mm jacks, that will cause a short and blow the fuse, blow your protection diode, or in this case it blew the fuse in the cord, which he had replaced and it still didn't work, and burnt a trace on the board. So we just had to solder a little wire around the burnt portion to circumvent that blown trace.